Life moves in the blink of an eye, slipping through our fingers before we even begin to notice its passage. One moment, we are children with wide-eyed wonder, chasing after the simple joys of life. The next, we find ourselves as adults, our shoulders burdened by responsibilities and our hearts yearning for simpler times. Decades can pass like droplets in a rushing river, and in that swift current, we often feel unmoored, grasping for meaning and searching for the treasures that truly matter. As we journey through existence, we come to realize that genuine affection, love freely given and received, among the most precious gifts we possess, and that nothing in this world surpasses the value of good health. Over time, as our bodies gradually betray the naivete of youth, we understand that we cannot freeze moments in place. Tomorrow remains an enigma that we cannot predict. Indeed, there will come days when our bones creak in protest, our eyes drag with the weight of exhaustion, and our hearts ache for respite. On those days, we must learn to heed the whispers of our bodies and permit ourselves to pause, for the relentless pursuit of goals without rest can erode both our physical and mental well-being. Too many times, we push onward in the name of productivity or ambition, neglecting our need for sleep and nourishment. We tell ourselves, just one more hour of work, or I can skip this meal, I'll manage, only to find that, in our self-denial, we chip away at the foundations that sustain us. Health is our lodestar. When we are sleepy, it is wiser to surrender to sleep than to resist, letting the body's natural rhythms guide us into the restorative embrace of rest. When the pangs of hunger gnaw at us, we should not scold ourselves for eating. Instead, we ought to provide our bodies with the balanced nutrition they crave. There is little nobility in deprivation if that deprivation saps our vitality. Because life is fleeting, passing as quickly as a wink, and there is no certainty that a future moment will arrive for us, we should not hoard the delights of existence for some hypothetical later. Tomorrow is not assured, so why postpone joy? Why wait until some distant milestone to enjoy a radiant sunset, to laugh with a friend, or to share a spontaneous meal with family? The world of possibilities is as vast as the sky itself, but time's wings beat always forward, never pausing. When those final days come, when our hair is wholly silvered, when our steps falter and our breath grows shallow, we will look back and wish we had paused more often to cherish what was right in front of us. We wish we had danced in the rain, wept with empathy, and wholeheartedly embraced simple pleasures instead of chasing accolades and material gain. This lesson, hard-earned by countless generations before us, remains as relevant today as ever. Health and authentic love are our greatest assets, and they deserve our unwavering devotion. The first time we notice our aging, perhaps, is when we see a stray gray hair peek through a sea of darker strands. Maybe it is the gentle ache in our knees after climbing a flight of stairs, or the discovery of a fine line spreading across the corner of our eye, tracing years of laughter or sorrow. In that moment, we experience a pang of surprise, as though time has reached inside and plucked away our youth without warning. We might think, I wasn't prepared for this. But aging is not a surprise born of deception. It is the natural progression of being. Each crease tells a story. Mornings spent chasing children, late night hours spent working on a dream, moments of heartbreak followed by healing. Our bodies bear the imprints of our lives, and in those imprints lie the wisdom of every experience we have weathered. Therefore, when we feel the weariness that marks the passage of years, we must listen to our bodies' admonishments to pry away from work and responsibilities and simply rest. If our minds reel with endless tasks, we need to learn to step away, even briefly, giving our nervous systems permission to breathe. If our muscles ache from overexertion, we need to pause and nourish them with wholesome food, rather than depriving them in a misguided attempt to be tough or stay resilient. The vibrant energy of youth may evanesce, but a contented soul can still shine with greater brilliance than the midday sun. We often forget that rest is not a sign of weakness, but a gesture of self-respect. There is a profound difference between grinding oneself into the ground and tending to one's own needs. When we ignore this distinction, we pay a steep price. Exhaustion steals our empathy, dulls our creativity, and isolates us from loved ones. We forget that the demands of life are not always urgent, even if they feel that way, and that an accumulated reserve of rest can fortify us against unforeseen challenges. Perhaps the next time we feel the first whisper of fatigue, we might close our eyes, lay down our burdens, and simply breathe. In that gentle pause, we might recall our best memories. The laughter of a child painting daisies in the park, the warmth of a close friend's hug in a moment of sadness, and the thrill of learning something new. In those memories and in the quiet that surrounds them, we remember who we are and why our health matters. Only then can we rise revitalized, more capable of facing life's tasks and of offering our love without reserve. The truth is, no matter how busy we become, every human being needs sleep, nutritious meals, and the occasional reprieve from the treadmill of obligations. By embracing this, we honor our bodies as sanctuaries, rather than vessels to be exploited until they falter. In that light, when we hear our bodies signaling enough, we should not recoil or chide ourselves for perceived laziness. We should respond with kindness and care. That generosity toward ourselves will ripple outward, affecting our mood, our relationships, and the very quality of our work. When we sleep well, we awaken with clarity. When we consistently nourish ourselves, we bolster our immune systems and sharpen our focus. And when we carve out time to rest, even if it seems unproductive, our mind and spirit recover, rekindle, and find more creative pathways forward. Because life is so fleeting, more enduring than the fleeting sparkle of starlight, there is little point in delaying celebrations, shared laughter, or heartfelt conversations. One day, perhaps when we least expect it, a doorway will close forever. If we wait for a perfect moment to savor an achievement or to savor a person's presence, that ideal moment may slip beyond our grasp. The future is not guaranteed. We will not necessarily awaken tomorrow, and the love we intend to express someday might find no refuge in our hearts if we fail to act when the opportunity stands before us. Suppose we hold onto an apple, waiting for it to ripen until it becomes overly sweet and mushy. We lose the crisp juiciness that made it delightful. Life's pleasures compound in this way. They are best enjoyed when they are at their freshest, their most vibrant. By hoarding them for a hypothetical later, we risk letting them rot unappreciated. We must not forget that our bodies have an expiration date carved into their cells, sometimes sooner than we would like. Illness can strike unexpectedly. Accidents can turn our plans upside down, and the passage of time will erode each of us in its own way. If we hoard tokens of love and moments of joy for that far-off tomorrow, we will look back with regret, wishing we had shared more laughter, more gratitude, and more of ourselves while our strength endured. So let us love generously when we can, embrace wholeheartedly when the heart stirs, and drink deeply of life's sweetness while it flows. Let us not assume that tomorrow will always offer a second chance that never comes. Let us not write, "I love you" on the back burner, waiting for a perfect day to reveal a battered heart. We do not know when goodbyes will arrive. In the face of this precious fragility, we must remember that a youthful spirit, an unbowed heart, can remain luminous, even as the body dims. Yes, time may wring the vigor from our limbs and cast gentle fissures upon our skin, but an optimistic, playful heart knows no age. Even in the autumn of life, when joints creak and eyesight blurs, a wholehearted laugh can fill a room with warmth and vitality, as though the very air itself were refreshed. When we practice gratitude for each day, the sunrise greeted, the meals shared, the connections rekindled, we cultivate a wellspring of energy that defies the diminution of the years. Research shows that people who maintain a sense of playfulness and curiosity often live longer, healthier lives because their minds stay agile and their hearts remain open to joy. In embracing positivity, we do not deny the hardships of life. Instead, we build resilience. We accept that sorrow will visit us, that challenges will arise, and that we will not emerge unscathed. Yet we choose to welcome joy as well, to seek out its hidden corners, and to believe that each day can hold moments of amiable delight. Consider, for instance, the simple yet striking parable of the crate of pears. A man purchased an entire crate of fruit, delighting in the promise of sweetness and nourishment it offered. But because he feared that some of the pears might spoil, he resolved to eat the rotten ones first, reasoning that he would save the plump, ripe specimens for later. Day after day, he plucked from the crate only the blemished pears, complaining all the while that he had nothing but sour, wrinkled fruit. Eventually, when he believed he had polished off the worst, he went to sample the good pears and found that none remained, for the crate had been filled with decay from the start. All he had consumed were the bad pears, and the rest had rotted unseen. This story reverberates with a clear message. When we focus exclusively on life's disappointments, we condemn ourselves to a life of bitterness. By fixating on the possibility of decay, on all the what-ifs, we ensure that every moment we experience will be colored by that negativity. Like the man who tasted only the rotten pears, we will wander through existence consuming nothing but sorrow. In reality, life is brimming with ripe, delectable possibilities. We find them not by delaying our pleasure, but by embracing what is good today. Yes, we will confront setbacks. Heartbreaks and fears will gather around us, like storms around a lone tree. But we need not allow those storms to define our entire perception. When we choose to set aside worries, even if only for a few hours, we open ourselves up to gratitude for the smell of rain on parched earth, the laughter of a child chasing butterflies, and the deep comfort of a friend's unwavering presence. By surrendering to joy when it appears, we feast on life's sweetness and render the hard moments more bearable. Emotions, by their very nature, can feel like unruly guests at our dinner table. They arrive unannounced, sometimes demanding to be served. We may find ourselves engulfed in wrath over a careless remark, toiling under the weight of envy when a colleague's success draws admiration, or drowning in sorrow after a sudden loss. Like a tempest, these feelings can swirl us into headlong ruin, leaving us battered and adrift. None of us is born with a flawless emotional thermostat. Each of us begins life as a newborn, a creature of instinct, of raw sensation, unversed in moderation. We only learn later how to distinguish between the fleeting sting of frustration and the deeper current of despair. Yet as we grow in wisdom, we come to understand the importance of noticing our emotions when they first flicker. We develop a capacity to say, wait a moment, this anger rising in me is but a flicker. It need not consume me. By holding that ember of awareness, we become the stewards of our inner state, choosing whether to feed the fire or to let it dwindle. Through practice, we learn to cultivate what might call emotional first aid, taking a grounding breath, stepping away from the situation, and asking ourselves what we truly feel beneath the anger or sadness. We remind ourselves that emotions are not facts. They are passing shades of our inner landscape. A wise person, then, treats emotions with respect and curiosity rather than with blind submission. We do not deny their presence, but we refuse to be carried away by them. Instead of charging headlong into the sea of anger, we might hold our ground, breathe deeply, and allow the storm to subside. We remind ourselves, I am not my anger. I am the observer of my anger. Through this shift, we become less tethered to the whims of feeling and more anchored in a serene clarity. In that quiet center, we find the seeds of resilience. We discover that, even when sorrow visits our doorstep, we can still cultivate gratitude for the memories that pain often accompanies. Because happiness and reason, when aligned, give us a vantage point from which we can choose our response. Rather than lashing out in rage or retreating into despair, we may pause, hold an unwavering gaze upon our hearts, and ask, is this moment bigger than I am? Or can I shape it into something that serves my growth? Often that mindful pause is all it takes to deflate a tantrum of rage or to soothe the tremors of unwelcome grief. We can shift our focus to the tasks at hand, calling a friend to share a laugh, stepping outside to feel the sun on our face, and practicing small acts of kindness that ripple outward. In these simple, humble acts, we reclaim authority over our inner realm and grant ourselves dignity beyond the reach of fleeting feelings. Once, in a secluded temple high among misty mountains, a monk inscribed 4 characters on an ancient beam, Jiān Píng Kě Dǎn. He knew that to live fully, we need more than impulse or whim. Through those 4 characters, steadfast yet fluid, serene at heart, adaptable in spirit, courageous in conduct, he offered a distilled map of how to traverse the unpredictable terrain of life. In Jiān, we see the power of perseverance. When difficulties encroach, whether the slow disintegration of a cherished dream or the sudden blow of illness, steadfastness reminds us to hold our ground. We practice balance. Our feet are rooted firmly to withstand the gale, yet our bodies are supple enough to bend rather than break. It is this duality of resolve and flexibility that allows the bamboo to remain upright in a typhoon, bending but never shattering. Ping speaks to the equanimity that emerges when we cease to revel in triumph or languish in defeat. True peace is not the absence of turbulence, but the capacity to remain calm amid turmoil, to greet joy without greed and sorrow without self-doubt. To embody Ping is to hold in one hand the sweetness of success and in the other the sting of failure, and to say, these two are part of life's ebb and flow. When we practice equanimity, we free ourselves from the tyranny of extremes. We discover a still center within our hearts, a harbor of calm that welcomes every storm without fear. The character Ke connotes adaptability. In the path of rivers, there is no single course. The water wanders, finding new channels when obstacles arise. Similarly, in life, we must learn to read the topography of each day, to sense when to charge forward with tenacity and when to pause, reassess, and let go. Perhaps we have planned a career path that seems certain, a promotion, a move to a new city, a business venture. But when unexpected challenges appear, a sudden industry downturn, an illness in the family, a shift in our inner calling, Kegye invites us to pivot. By yielding gracefully, we can discover a different road that leads to growth and fulfillment in ways we might never have envisioned. Finally, Dǎn calls forth the courage to endure. In ancient times, warriors braved hostile terrain and faced formidable foes with nothing but rudimentary armor. Today, our battles might be less tangible, an unrelenting illness, the relentless pace of modern life, or the agony of saying goodbye to someone we love. But the essence of courage remains the same. To stand firm when everything aches, to keep moving forward when every part of us begs for rest, and to hold our heads high when the horizon grows dark. Dǎn reminds us that suffering can refine us, that each challenge surmounted lends us a deeper understanding of our own capacities, and that the distance covered by a courageous heart is measured not in miles, but in the compassion and wisdom gained. Though life's pathways are winding and the terrain unpredictable, these four pillars, steadfastness, equanimity, adaptability, and courage, offer a guiding light. They are not rules etched in stone, but whispers of possibility, invitations to explore our inner landscape and to craft each moment with deliberation rather than haste. We may falter, we may forget, but each time we return to Jiān Píng Kě Dǎn, we find a chance to recalibrate, to stand a little sturdier, to breathe a little more deeply, and to press onward with a humbler, more open heart. Happiness, too, is not a singular treasure buried beneath the sands, but rather a cluster of simple truths waiting to be unearthed each day. We need not chase an elusive golden idol of perpetual bliss. Instead, we can appreciate the small wonders that unfold in ordinary moments. To that end, 3 principles can move us closer to a life suffused with contentment. First, to rise each morning with laughter or a smile curling from within, and to greet the night with the comfort of a peaceful slumber. How many times have we awakened in the throes of worry or ended a day with an unsettled mind, only to rise once more, frazzled, and carry our burdens anew? Conversely, when we find ourselves sharing genuine laughter with a friend, or when we surrender to sleep confident that we have done our best, we have tapped into a form of happiness worth more than all the trophies in the world. By mindful cultivation of laughter, be it through a favorite joke, a playful conversation, or the sheer delight of noticing a child's carefree joy, we oxygenate our souls. And when we retreat to bed without regrets, we allow our minds to home in on restoration, nourishing the roots of well-being from which our happiness can flourish anew. Second, let us speak of wisdom, the capacity to excel in the tasks immediately before us while remaining vigilant about those that lie on the horizon. Consider a scholar preparing for a final exam. Days before the test, she organizes her notes, completes practice questions, and engages in deep study, demonstrating wisdom in her meticulous preparation. At the same time, she anticipates potential shifts. Maybe a question will delve into a topic she has not yet mastered. By scanning the outline, seeking clarifications from professors, and adjusting her focus accordingly, she merges present excellence with foresight. In our daily lives, we can emulate this example by investing wholehearted effort into each project, interaction, or dream, while still scanning for looming challenges. Perhaps we are coordinating a family gathering, cooking, cleaning, sending invitations. These tasks demand meticulous attention. Yet we also look ahead, asking ourselves, what if someone's flight is delayed? Do I have accommodation plans in reserve? How can I ensure everyone arrives safely? This blending of present competence with future vigilance constitutes a foundational thread of wisdom. Third, we speak of emotional intelligence, EQ. It is the art of communicating in a manner that draws people near, of inspiring collaboration, and of living in such a way that our presence leaves an indelible impression. When we speak kindly, we uplift others. When we offer genuine praise, encouragement, or a listening ear, we become catalysts for transformation. Imagine a manager who is faced with a team in crisis and shouts orders from a distance. The result is anxiety, division, and confusion. Now imagine another manager who, sensing the same crisis, approaches each team member with empathy, listening to fears, acknowledging achievements, and articulating a clear vision while remaining sensitive to individual concerns. In this second scenario, the manager's words become instruments of unity, forging a cohesive team bound by mutual respect. This emotional intelligence weaves a subtle tapestry of connection, ensuring that our relationships are not brittle, but rather span years with enduring strength. Fourth, we consider the notion of positive energy, a force that extends beyond mere cheerfulness. To project positive energy is to become a lighthouse for others, especially when their own shores seem shrouded in fog. It means offering hope when all appears bleak, guiding with gentle wisdom, empowering people to rediscover dormant strengths, and sprinkling morsels of joy throughout the darkest hours. Positive energy does not ignore the hardship of reality, but instead chooses to illuminate possibilities and guide others towards solutions. It is the healing balm that helps a friend see the light at the end of a tunnel, the confident stride that propels a team through uncertainty, and the generous act that reminds someone they are not alone. By embodying this spirit, we transform our presence from a mere dot on the horizon to a radiant beacon that invites others to journey toward their own greatest potential. When we absorb these four pillars, joy through simple laughter and restful nights, wisdom born of present excellence and foresight, emotional intelligence that binds us in empathy and respect, and positive energy that sustains us through adversity, we arm ourselves with a mindset that renders life vibrant. Our days become not a relentless grind, but rather a series of invitations to celebrate, learn, connect, and uplift. In such a life, we do not wander. Rather, we walk with intention, grateful that each sunrise offers a fresh palette upon which to paint our experiences. Yet happiness does not bloom in isolation. It often takes root in the fertile soil of our intimate relationships. At the heart of this lies family, a sanctuary of warmth, not a battleground of discord. A home should be a place where we seek refuge from the clamor of the outside world, not a venue for bitter recriminations. Every family needs doses of humor, understanding, and kindness, lest resentment and frustration find cracks through which to slither. Consider a home where harsh words replace gentle dialogue, where every disagreement escalates into a shouting match. In such an environment, no one rests easy, and the bonds that should bind fray under the strain. Conversely, in a home where disagreements are aired respectfully, where each individual's perspective is heard, even if not agreed with, life flows with a soft cadence. In that chorus of voices, diverse though they may be, concord shines through. Instead of wielding harsh words as weapons, family members offer concern and compassion. Instead of erecting walls of indifference, they build bridges of understanding. When it comes to marriage, the principle remains the same. Harmony trumps extravagance. Two spouses need not dine nightly on gourmet delicacies or wear designer attire to enjoy wedded bliss. What they need is respect and affection, an environment in which each person knows they can be both strong and vulnerable. If we never argue, something may be amiss. After all, we are each imperfect, and disagreements can surface even in the kindest unions. But if we habitually create mountains out of molehills, treating every slip of the tongue as a mortal affront, then the foundation cracks. Instead, consider this: when two people commit to understanding and supporting each other, recognizing that love, not pride, guides their interactions, those glorious days far outnumber any storms. When conflict arises, they meet it with a shared promise to listen with curiosity, to express dissent without contempt, and to seek reconciliation at day's end. Indeed, to cherish one's partner is to elevate both the joys and sufferings experienced together. Each triumph becomes sweeter when shared with someone who revels in your delight. Each setback becomes less burdensome when someone shares the load. Imagine a couple who, instead of quarreling over minor inconveniences, choose to joke with each other, diffuse tension, and then tease that tomorrow we will fight over that remote again, turning even disagreement into a token of affection. In such relationships, love flows freely, washing away feelings of loneliness and building a sense of unity that makes the entire family circle shine more brightly. There is no shortage of research affirming that couples who foster a spirit of mutual support, rather than indulging in sharp tongues, generally experience greater satisfaction, better health outcomes, and deeper emotional bonds. In their laughter, in their shared dreams, and in their willingness to stand beside one another through life's highs and lows, they become living testaments to the fact that harmonious relationships are the bedrock of happiness. Beyond these intimate bonds, our principles of living, our moral compass, can be guided by simple yet potent aphorisms. First and perhaps foremost, it is often wiser to feign ignorance than to flaunt one's cleverness. In a world that prizes brilliance, many strive to exhibit superior wit, yet those very efforts can alienate and isolate. A sharp retort at the wrong moment can cut deeper than the truth it purports to convey. Meanwhile, a gentle silence, accompanied by a knowing smile, can disarm hostility and open pathways to empathy. When we choose not to demonstrate how much we know, we leave room for others to contribute, to learn, and to feel valued. This restraint is not a denial of our intellect, but rather an act of humility that nurtures communal bonds. In a meeting, for instance, a team member might resist the urge to highlight every flaw in a proposal, choosing instead to offer constructive feedback in private. By doing so, they preserve the presenter's dignity, encourage collaboration, and still guide the project toward excellence. Such acts of modesty often accrue trust and respect that trump any immediate acknowledgement of intellectual prowess. Second, hard work supersedes indolence every time. In a culture that often glorifies shortcuts and overnight success, the steady hum of diligent effort can seem quaint or old-fashioned. Yet those who cultivate a work ethic anchored in persistence reap rewards that fleeting bursts of inspiration rarely provide. Human history is marked by countless achievements forged by those who, day by day, chipped away at obstacles. From ancient builders painstakingly stacking stones to create architectural marvels, to modern scientists laboring for decades to unlock life-saving knowledge, hard work remains the engine of progress. Studies show that grit and sustained effort can outperform raw talent. Whether in sports, art, science, or parenthood, those who persevere through setbacks ultimately craft lives of substance and enduring legacy. So when faced with tedious tasks, writing the 1,000th line of code, mastering a new language, or learning an instrument, we should remember each incremental step brings us closer to mastery, while those who quit early remain stranded at the start. Third, humility surpasses ostentatious displays of wealth. In a world seduced by designer labels, luxury cars, and grand mansions, it is easy to equate possessions with personal worth. Yet such things can vanish in an instant through financial collapse, disaster, or shifting tides of fortune. True wealth lies not in what we own, but in our character, our relationships, and our capacity for generosity. Ancient sages taught that those who carry their riches lightly, sharing freely and using resources for the common good, live richer lives than those who hoard gold and chase status. By contrast, the boastful who parade their wealth often conceal fragile hearts, cloaked in insecurity and fear of scarcity. Humility, then, is not a forced posture, but a natural expression of one who knows their worth transcends bank accounts and credit lines. Fourth, it is wiser to accept minor losses than to chase every small gain. Yielding a little may seem like losing in the short term, yet clinging tightly to every advantage risks forfeiting much greater prizes later. This principle holds true across many domains. A negotiator offers a small concession to secure a major contract. A driver yields in traffic to avoid a costly accident. A friend lets go of a petty dispute to preserve the relationship. Learning to surrender the inconsequential protects our peace and strengthens the bonds that matter most. Over time, those who forgive small trespasses earn greater trust and loyalty than those who demand exact repayment. Securing the big picture often requires strategic retreat. Fifth, living simply triumphs over chasing empty fame. The world tempts us with glittering stages, viral moments, and fleeting accolades. Those who chase the limelight soon find public attention, like a fickle breeze, is no true home. When we tie our self-worth to social media likes or applause, we bind our spirit to external validation. Instead, by nurturing genuine relationships, pursuing meaningful work, and savoring everyday richness, we build a lasting legacy free from the hollowness of transient fame. Simplicity, marked by quiet reflection, sustainable living, and authentic connection, often brings a deeper fulfillment than any spotlight. As the Buddha taught, suffering stems from craving what is not essential. When we let go of the pursuit of stardom and live honestly, our souls can finally breathe. Beyond these guiding tenets lies another powerful tool for cultivating happiness: adopting a positive, growth-oriented mindset, often called a growth mindset in modern psychology. Decades of research show that those who view abilities as changeable and embrace challenges as chances to learn consistently outperform those who see talents as fixed. Practically, this means when faced with setbacks, like missing a promotion, a failed project, or disappointing exam results, we can interpret them as proof of failure or as feedback signaling where to improve. Viewing failure not as a verdict but as guidance grants us freedom to try again with fresh perspective. This shift from fixed to growth mindset turns adversity into a forge for resilience. By nurturing the belief that every trial holds potential for growth, happiness arises not from circumstances, but from the joy of becoming, the thrill of discovery, and pride in progress. This aligns perfectly with the ancient teaching of Jiān Píng Kě Dǎn. Holding ourselves rigidly to immediate success invokes Jiān, steadfast discipline, but without the flexibility of Kě, it can lead to despair when setbacks come. Coupling determination with adaptability, seeing mistakes as detours, not dead ends, fully embodies these characters. The Dān of courage becomes quiet endurance, the strength to face uncertainty, embrace discomfort, and trust that each faltering step carries a lesson. Ping finds true meaning as equilibrium through triumph and failure, refusing to let either define our worth. As these inner principles guide us, we see family as the central orbit of our emotional lives. While institutions rise and fall, economies fluctuate, political tides change, family remains a steady beacon. Family shapes vary: nuclear households, extended clans, chosen families. At their core is the sacred impulse to love and be loved, to protect and belong. Treating home as a battleground where harsh words tear unity weakens the foundation of happiness. Conversely, when family is a sanctuary of grace, where mistakes are confessed without fear, apologies heal bonds, and laughter rings like balm, love's reservoir grows strong enough to weather any storm. The 5 love languages offer a practical way to deepen this connection. Words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Each family member may respond differently. One sibling feels valued when praised, another when served a favorite meal, a third when given undivided attention during a game. Speaking each other's languages, saying, "I affirm you," "I made this for you," or "I'm here with you," distractions off, weave an invisible tapestry of belonging, binding family members with threads stronger than adversity. This is no idealized fantasy, but a reachable path to making home a true harbor. In marriage, harmony requires no extravagance. The grandest wedding does not guarantee peace. A simple ceremony does not doom dissatisfaction. Respect, clear communication, and mutual support are the true foundations. When hurt feelings surface, as they naturally do, harmonious couples weather storms by acknowledging pain instead of dismissing it. They give each other the benefit of the doubt. Understanding unkind words often stem from exhaustion or fear, not malice. Quick forgiveness and a choice to heal rather than keep score sustain love. Choosing laughter over recrimination, maybe diffusing tension with an inside joke, turns conflict into opportunity to strengthen bonds. Thus, it is love's resilience, not absence of conflict, that cements marriage. In extended families, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, similar dynamics apply. Older generations may hold traditions younger members find outdated, yet families can treat these differences as chances to learn. Elders offer generational wisdom as gifts, not lectures. Younger members share fresh perspectives, digital skills, new career ideas, personal growth insights. Mutual respect for differing viewpoints turns households into vibrant mosaics of history and possibility. Beyond the family nucleus, our values shape how we engage with the wider world. The truest measure of a person is found not in their bank balance or social media following, but in their integrity, empathy, and generosity. Reflecting on the 5 practical life lessons: feigning ignorance instead of flaunting cleverness, diligent labor over laziness, humility rather than displaying wealth, accepting minor losses instead of chasing every small gain, and embracing simplicity instead of pursuing empty fame, we find a worldview both grounded and flexible, enabling us to navigate complexity without losing sight of what truly matters. Consider feigning ignorance versus flaunting cleverness. In social situations, some may bristle at being outshone and feel compelled to show off their brilliance, rattling off obscure facts, correcting trivial errors, or dominating conversations with arcane references. While this may impress some, it often alienates others and breeds quiet resentment. By contrast, a mature individual may choose silence even when knowledgeable, opting instead to ask thoughtful questions and encourage others to share. This creates an atmosphere of respect and collaboration, where all feel valued. Over time, such sincerity earns genuine respect far beyond any superficial display of erudition. Hard work, too, remains vital. Many of life's greatest rewards come from the steady accumulation of effort. In a culture obsessed with quick success, dedication can seem outdated. Yet history offers countless examples of perseverance paying off. Inventors refining prototypes in obscurity until a breakthrough changes an industry. Teachers devoting weekends to lesson plans who shape generations. Artists and entrepreneurs enduring rejection after rejection before achieving recognition. Even so-called overnight successes often mask years of unseen toil. Those who persist and treat setbacks as stepping stones consistently outpace shortcut seekers, as the compound effect of daily commitment surpasses fleeting bursts of brilliance. Humility, though elusive, transforms character. Society often glorifies those who flaunt wealth and status, luxury cars, designer labels, flashy social media posts. But when the spotlight fades, what remains? Humble people maintain steadiness, credit others, acknowledge flaws, and offer praise generously. In workplaces, such leaders inspire loyalty by radiating genuine respect. In friendships, they become treasured companions because they see relationships as gifts, not transactions. Humility counters the corrosive illusion that wealth and status alone define us. Accepting minor losses instead of clinging to every small gain is an art of strategic restraint. In negotiation, pushing too hard over small points can damage relationships and risk bigger wins. A skilled negotiator knows when to concede minor issues to build trust and foster long-term partnerships. For example, a landlord who waives late fees during a tenant's hardship often gains a more loyal, responsible renter. Similarly, in relationships, choosing to overlook small offenses and asking, "Is this worth ending a friendship?" allows pride to be set aside for deeper bonds. Small losses of ego can yield lifelong connections far richer than any fleeting victory. Finally, simplicity stands as a vital lesson amid relentless consumerism. We are bombarded with messages urging us to acquire the latest gadgets, fashions, or lifestyles, yet chasing more often traps us in an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. Economies grow, wardrobes expand, storage fills, but true fulfillment remains elusive. Those who embrace simplicity, finding joy in a minimalist wardrobe, a close-knit circle of friends, and meaningful experiences rather than possessions, discover profound ease. They declutter not only their space, but their minds, making room for reflection, creativity, and genuine connection. Choosing simplicity isn't rejecting progress or beauty, but recognizing that the richest luxuries, time, health, love, cannot be bought. They arise naturally when we pause, breathe, and appreciate what we already have. As these principles permeate our lives, we see that happiness, far from being a single event or a fixed state, is an evolving tapestry. Each day we have opportunities to practice gratitude, cultivate resilience, connect empathically, and choose laughter over resentment. In this ongoing practice, our lives become less a frantic scramble for illusory treasures and more a mindful appreciation of the gifts before us. A friend's steady presence, a parent's unconditional love, the exhilaration of learning something new, the warmth of a shared meal. It is in these seemingly small acts, listening wholeheartedly, offering an unsolicited hug, forgiving without hesitation, that we sow seeds of enduring joy. We must also become acutely aware of the gift of time itself. Time, while invisible, casts indelible marks upon us. Philosophers and poets have long meditated upon time's elusiveness, likening it to shifting sands or a river that carries us, whether willing or not, toward unknown destinations. The ancient Greek poet Hesiod wrote, "Lose not yourself along the way." Today, our busier-than-ever world can lead us astray, binding us to calendars, to phone screens, to alarms set for every 60 seconds. Sometimes the greatest rebellion against the tyranny of time is simply to pause and to perceive, to watch a sunset, to savor a spoonful of soup, to cradle a grandchild in our arms. In these quiet interludes, we touch that deeper quality of time that remains still, though the world rushes past. We can all recall moments when time felt warped. As a child, the day before Christmas might have dragged on for an eternity, each tick of the clock echoing like a drumbeat in our eager hearts. Yet at a memorable family reunion, when the laughter and chatter coursed through our veins, 4 hours might have dissipated in what felt like a moment, leaving us astonished to see the sun already dipping behind the horizon. Or recall the interminable seconds spent in nervous anticipation, waiting for the doctor's phone call, waiting for exam results, or waiting at a stoplight when we are late, contrasting sharply with the fleeting hours spent in the embrace of a loved one's arms. This relativity of experience highlights that time, measured by our clocks and calendars, does not always calibrate to the rhythm of our minds and hearts. By growing older, we come to see time's dual nature more clearly. It is at once both adversary and ally. On one hand, it slips through our grasp with every breath, leaving us wistful for youth's vanished magic. On the other hand, it grants us insights of wisdom, each memory etched into our brains like the rings of an ancient tree. When we glance at those rings, each representing a year lived, a season endured, we sense that our lives are composed of chapters, each chapter shaped by lessons learned, relationships forged, and memories made. These chapters bind together our past, present, and future. When we look behind, we see a tapestry woven of joys and sorrows, triumphs and failures. When we look ahead, we can envision blank pages yearning to be inscribed with new experiences, fresh friendships, and unexplored adventures. But that blank page awaits only if we step into the daylight. If we turn complacency into our default posture, our story can stagnate. We might drift through years under a haze of routine, letting the days blend into one another without noticing the sunrise or the moonrise in their passing. The remedy, then, is to live with impassioned intention, consciously choosing how we spend each fragment of time. By treating every hour as a gift, an opportunity to learn, to give, to experience, we tilt the balance in our favor. We slow the swirling current of obligations and steer our vessel mindfully, refusing to allow time to obliterate its precious cargo, our relationships, our dreams, and our very essence. In this grand mosaic of human experience, one profound teaching beckons. Deep water runs still, and a wise person speaks little. Picture a mighty river coursing over rapids, white water churning tumultuously, yet beneath that frothy surface, there may lie vast depths, where the current flows softly, invisibly, bearing the river onward with unwavering strength. Similarly, those who possess profound insight often speak sparingly, deflecting attention away from themselves and allowing their actions to speak volumes. In a culture enamored with sound bites and sensational headlines, the quiet voice of reason can seem out of place, yet it remains the surest compass for navigating our complexities. When we cultivate a calm interior, let our words be measured, our judgments tempered, our actions rooted in compassion, we discover that true influence need not roar. It can whisper from the stillness, guiding others to a fuller understanding of love and truth. In modern life, we are often told that appearance and aggression are the fastest ways to achieve success. Yet the greatest leaders, teachers, and thinkers do not rely on bombast or bluster. They study patiently, learn humbly, and teach kindly. They know that scattering seeds of kindness can yield forests of transformation. Just as a deep lake may appear placid, reflecting the heavens on its still surface, so the person who has cultivated inner serenity reflects the world with clarity, perceiving its true shape without distortion. They offer calm amid crisis, presence amid chaos, and understanding amid confusion. In their silent strength, they invite us to reconsider our own responses. Can I choose calm over fury? Can I listen more and speak less? Can I let the stillness inside me guide my path? By affirming these choices daily, by silencing our need to dominate conversations and instead prioritizing the harmony of all voices, we foster collective wisdom. When families, communities, and nations heed the counsel of this inner stillness, they are less likely to stumble into the maelstrom of conflict, prejudice, and strife. To cultivate this inner calm, we might carve out moments of silence each day, turning off our devices, closing our eyes, and simply sitting in stillness. We can practice mindful breathing, observing the rise and fall of our chest and the flow of air through our nostrils. In those intervals, we begin to notice the tapestry of our thoughts, each strand weaving through our minds like a pattern on a loom. As we learn to observe without immediate reaction, compassionately acknowledging anger, fear, or sorrow as passing clouds, we start to see that the essence of who we are remains untouched, serene, and boundless. This perspective illuminates the path of humility. We become aware that our judgments are not absolute truths, but rather ephemeral constructs framed by our own experiences and biases. The more we dwell in this quiet clarity, the more we prize the wisdom of listening over the impulse to speak, of understanding over the urge to persuade. Concurrently, we embrace the practice of yielding and empathy, for they go hand in hand with stillness. In the modern world, we are conditioned to fight for our rights, to champion our views, and to erect walls around our identities as though any sign of compromise would render us weak. Yet true strength often blooms in yielding, the willingness to listen to others with a heart wide open, to cede the spotlight to a quieter soul, to forgive transgressions that bruise our pride but do not truly wound our core. Picture a heated argument where both sides raise their voices, their faces flushed, their chests heaving with indignation. In that moment, if one person releases their clenched fists and bows their head, saying, "I see your pain, and I wish to understand you," the temperature in the room drops precipitously. Anger yields to the soft glow of empathy, and instant hearts stretch outward, finding common ground. By yielding a measure of control, we earn the trust of others. We become living proof that compassion does not weaken us. Rather, it emboldens our capacity to connect and heal. For some, this act of yielding may feel like self-betrayal, like relinquishing a safeguard. They fear exploitation or loss of respect. Yet over time, they discover that yielding selectively is an exercise in discernment, not capitulation. We do not surrender on matters of principle or integrity. Rather, we yield on points of minor friction and protect relationships of greater worth. We choose our battles, understanding that every diversion of energy expends precious time and peace. By granting ourselves the freedom to distinguish between minor skirmishes and existential threats, we use our inner resources more prudently, preserving emotional energy for moments that genuinely demand our unwavering resolve. Empathy extends beyond yielding in arguments. It is the willingness to walk in another's shoes, to see the world through their eyes. It is the capacity to imagine the whispered worries behind a coworker's forced smile or the silent tears beneath a friend's cheerful facade. When we internalize empathy as a daily practice, making the extra effort to ask, "How can I help?" and then listening without judgment, we create ripples of understanding that can transform workplaces, schools, and entire communities. As we circulate this currency of compassion, we deposit trust in others' hearts. They, in turn, circulate kindness to yet more people, until a single act of empathy sparks an ever-expanding circle of goodwill. Next, we address a tender and universal theme: the shifting dynamics between adult children and their aging parents. In youth, parents often err on the side of firmness, imposing vegetables on us: carrots, broccoli, spinach, each bite meant to fortify our growing bodies. We push them away, pleading disguised as protest. "I hate carrots. You can't make me eat this." But parents, certain that leafy greens harbor hidden treasure, insist reminding us that vegetables are the building blocks of health. Our childish triumph is in tossing a few pieces under the table before they notice, only to be scolded when the missing morsels betray our trick. Yet, in adulthood, a curious reversal begins to unfold. Our parents, many of whom once enforced carrot consumption with steely resolve, begin treating us like gastronomic royalty, cooking elaborate feasts of our favorite dishes, succulent meats, decadent desserts, while they themselves subsist on the simplest fare, often communist-era-inspired staples known for their no-frills minimalism. They mock our complaints about calories or cholesterol as though they are mere fancies of youth, responding to "Mom, I'm on a diet" with a theatrical flourish. Then here, eat all the sweets you like. Your father and I will manage with stale bread. In our younger days, we might have chafed at parental prodding, but it was rooted in a desire to build strong bodies. Now, in their twilight years, those same parents worry over our every bite, as though we remain their small children, imperiled by the world's dangers. Our tastes shift towards salads and mock meats, while they dote upon us with sumptuous banquets. Suddenly, a bite of steamed broccoli feels puzzling on the dinner table, replaced instead by thick slabs of marinated pork and a fine mesh of gravy. They insist, "Eat, dear, eat. It does the body well," as though they fear that because we are now independent adults, we might wither away without their ministrations. When parents enter our homes unannounced, we bristle. "Mom, you can't just barge in like that." When they ring our phones to ask, "Have you eaten? When will you come home?" we respond with thin patience. "I'm not 6 years old anymore. I can handle my schedule." Yet in those moments of irritation, we overlook the truth that their concern arises from ceaseless love and a growing fear that one day we might slip away forever. They have launched us into independence, but now they find themselves adrift in a vast sea of time, wondering how their days will be filled once the children have flown. The kitchen cabinets may remain stocked and the house may remain tidy, but the quiet echo of an empty house can feel piercing. They cling to every opportunity to see us, to hear our laughter, to sense our presence, because in their hearts, our existence still stands as their greatest accomplishment. Perhaps we recall when a freshman in college, faced with a new world of freedom, locked the door behind him and told his parents, "Please don't visit unannounced. I need my space." Those were the early tremors of change, adolescence's longing for autonomy. Now, as the same individual navigates the corporate world, stepping through the glass doors of an office tower, working late nights, and returning home to a quiet apartment, his parents have dwindled into age and frailty. They still respond to late-night text messages. "Working late? Are you eating enough? Is it too cold where you are?" With fervent devotion, concerned he might skip meals in the throes of some project. Each time he dismisses the message impatiently, he chips away at the fragile edifice that his mother and father have erected around his well-being. He forgets that, though he stands on two strong legs and strides purposefully through the city, in their eyes he is still the small boy they once cradled. The same hands that taught him to tie his shoelaces or to ride a bike now tremble slightly as they prepare his dinner. They watch our lives with rapt attention so that when we wander outside their sphere, their hearts constrict with anxiety. In the soft hours of the night, parents lie awake, listening to the silence where once our laughter resounded. They fear the ghost of loneliness, a specter that grows larger with each passing day. Their investments, their dreams, and even their cherished keepsakes pale in importance against the simple warmth of our presence. So when they send us a final message, "Come home soon, if only for a day," they are not demanding obedience. They are making one last plea to touch our essence, to reassure themselves that the fruit of their love still clings to the family tree. If we can find it within ourselves to quell our youthful impatience and to respond with a "Sure, Mom, I'll be there Saturday," we offer them the most precious cure, the assurance that though time flows inexorably, our bond remains unbroken. In that embrace, once accidental, once routine, now precious beyond measure, they rediscover their place in our hearts. And we, for a moment, step outside the whirlwind of our hectic schedules and feel the softness of a mother's unconditional love, the sturdiness of a father's unwavering pride. Within the hurry and bustle, we often forget that adult children, no matter how accomplished, can inadvertently wound their parents with brusque words or imagined slights. A curt, "I'll text you when I'm free," can echo like a cold draft, conjuring fears in a mother's heart that her child no longer needs her counsel, her father's wisdom, or even his approval. Perhaps a son's failure to call for months sends a silent message, unintentional but profound, that he considers family second to his career or social life. But the truth, raw and simple, remains. A parent's love is steadfast and all-encompassing, unshaken by our missteps. The sadness in a mother's eyes when her child forgets her birthday, or the tension in a father's voice when he asks, "When was the last time you visited?" These are undercurrents born of fear that the season of life continues unabated, and one day the child may be gone without a final farewell. Therefore, let us vow never to speak caustically, never to demand that our parents conform to our schedules as though their own lives hold no value. Instead, let us offer our presence generously, carving out time to visit, to call, to listen. We need not change our careers or uproot every plan. We need only grant attention, demonstrating that our love remains undimmed. In that simple act, sitting at the kitchen table, sipping tea, letting laughter rise from shared memories, we become the balm that soothes the ache of aging hearts. That is the essence of filial piety, a concept revered in countless traditions, from Confucianism's emphasis on ancestor veneration to the Christian commandment to honor thy father and mother. It transcends faith. It is a universal truth written across the human heart. Time, that relentless current already discussed, marches on. We cannot arrest its pace, but we can orient ourselves to its flow. Life, in essence, is a relationship with time, our only non-renewable resource. The Greek Stoics compared human life to a river that, once passed, does not return. Marcus Aurelius, that Roman emperor and philosopher, urged his readers to confine yourself to the present. In his meditations, we find the reminder that every breath we draw, every heartbeat we feel, is a gift that will never come again. We can mark time by birthdays, anniversaries, and projected milestones, but the true texture of time reveals itself in the map of our memories and the fountain of our dreams. Each moment we live becomes part of an unfolding tapestry. In our youth, the year ahead may have felt like an ocean, a vast expanse of possibility that stretched beyond horizons we could not yet see. As adults, the calendar may narrow, the seasons blend, and we wake each morning acutely conscious of how many fleeting moments remain. Yet within that finite number, there is unimaginable potential. We do not merely track time in hours and minutes. We invest it in relationships, endeavors, and contributions that echo beyond our mortal coil. When we spend time writing a poem, teaching a child to read, tending a garden so that others may enjoy its blossoms, or sharing a meal with someone who feels alone, we deposit value into the treasury of human goodwill. In the modern era, we experience time's tyranny in novel forms. The ping of smartphone notifications, the treadmill of corporate deadlines, and the ceaseless carousel of social media updates. Each beep and buzz competes for our attention, fracturing our presence and fragmenting our focus. We drift from task to task, inbox to inbox, slide to slide, under the illusion that multitasking boosts productivity. Yet neuroscience tells us that humans do not multitask in any meaningful sense. Instead, we switch rapidly between tasks, each switch exacting a toll on time and mental energy. While our devices may demand our attention, our hearts yearn for something deeper, a chance to breathe, to feel, to reflect, and to connect. We want time not as an oppressor, but as a companion, someone who walks beside us, reminding us to pause and appreciate the sun filtering through autumn leaves, to note the laughter of children at play, or to cherish the soft sigh of evening wind across the grass. The poet Mary Oliver once asked, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" In that question, she reminds us that time is not merely something we endure, it is something we imbue with purpose. Each day offers an invitation to learn something we did not know, to extend kindness where none is expected, to stand up for justice in a world that sometimes seems immune to fairness, and to nurture creativity in a society that prizes conformity. If we succumb to the rhythm of autopilot, drifting through a sea of sameness, we miss the chance to add our unique brushstrokes to the canvas of existence. In our quest to honor time's preciousness, we turn back to the theme of deep water runs still. In those moments of conscious living, when a parent watches a child chasing bubbles in the garden, when an artist loses track of hours while painting, when a scientist experiences the ripple of possibility in a failed experiment, we touch the deep waters of life. Those moments of stillness are not antithetical to action. Rather, they fuel our capacity to act with wisdom. They remind us that our true resource is not boundless energy or unlimited hours, but the depth of our presence in each heartbeat. When we allow ourselves to sink into that calm reservoir, we return to the surface stronger, more resilient, and more capable of acting in alignment with our deepest values. From that still center emerges the spirit of empathy and yielding, which we have already examined in the context of family, friendships, and communities. When we practice empathy, we enlarge our capacity to bear another's sorrow, celebrate another's joy, and move together toward a shared horizon. We recognize that our own experiences, however vivid or traumatic, represent only a fragment of the spectrum of human possibility. By yielding to another's perspective, not abandoning our convictions, but acknowledging that other truths hold equal validity, we disrupt the endless cycle of conflict. Our small acts of humility, regularly recognizing that we do not hold all the answers, open room for mutual understanding. This is how families thrive, how communities coalesce across differences, and how societies inch closer to justice. Each time we practice empathy, we plant seeds that grow into trees of hope, casting shade for those who come after us. In the grand tapestry of existence, one might say that the purpose of life is to weave a pattern of compassion, wisdom, and love so that the world may be a gentler place for those who follow. Every gesture, big or small, reverberates outward. The teacher who spends extra minutes encouraging a shy student may ignite a lifelong passion that transforms that student's life. The doctor who holds a patient's hand in the throes of illness does more than treat a disease. They remind the patient that they are more than a diagnosis. They are a human being worthy of dignity. The neighbor who bakes an extra loaf of bread and shares it with someone in need creates a ripple of generosity that radiates beyond the kitchen. We seldom witness the full arc of these impacts, but they are real nonetheless, shaping destinies in ways we may never know. Returning to the shifting dynamics between adult children and aging parents, we realize that this relationship encapsulates the essence of time's ebb and flow. To watch our parents age is to confront our own impermanence. When we once stood as the recipients of their care, admonitions, and unwavering love, we now find ourselves in reverse, tasked with noticing the tremble in their hands, the glint of sadness in their eyes when they recall their younger days, the slow gait that was once swift. As they become more fragile, they cling to memories, once vibrant, now fading. They cherish every photograph, every greeting card, and every sign that their children remain near. When we visit, bringing laughter, conversation, and the comfort of our presence, we infuse those moments with light. We become vessels carrying both love and gratitude. In these visits, we also glean from them the final stories of their lives, how they met as young lovers, the first home they built together, the children they held as infants, and the challenges they overcame with steely resolve. We become guardians of their legacies, entrusted to carry forward the lessons they have lived. In their wisdom, they have taught us that, though time may erode our youthful vigor, it cannot tarnish the essence of our character if we choose to cultivate it well. When we part from them, leaving behind that embrace of a worn sweater, that familiar kitchen table, we do not say goodbye to a person, but to an era, an unbroken chain of stories dating back to ancestors we never knew. We feel the weight of that heritage, and in our own veins we feel the echo of choices they made, every morsel of kindness passed down through generations. When we honor that survival, we honor ourselves, and we affirm our place within the continuum of time. As we approach our later days, perhaps when grandchildren encircle us with questions about how the world looked back in the day, or when we see the first unmistakable signs of age in our own reflections, we remember the four characters, Jiān Píng Kě Dǎn, not as distant mandates, but as living instructions. We recall that when we have lost the lustrous vigor of youth, we nevertheless remain capable of steadfastness, upholding principles with the same gentle force that once propelled us upward. We rejoice in equanimity, mindful that tears will accompany our joys and joys our sorrows, but we hold them all in balance. We adapt with gratitude, for we know that the world shifts under our feet. Technology evolves, social norms transform, and the pace quickens. Yet we step lightly, no longer burdened by clinging to what once was. Finally, we embrace courage, holding to life's final gift, that even as we approach the horizon of mortality, we can still find ways to contribute, to teach, to love, and to bequeath hope to those who come after. In this arc of maturity, we also reaffirm the wisdom of happiness's four pillars: laughter by day and sleep by night, alive in the present while attuned to tomorrow's needs, possessed of emotional intelligence that binds hearts, and infused with positive energy that radiates beyond our mortal coils. We may no longer jump with the same physical abandon that once characterized our youths, but we can still share laughter of a deeper, quieter kind. The chuckle that bubbles from having learned from our mistakes, the soulful laugh at an old family anecdote retold with affectionate exaggeration, or the serene chuckle born of gratitude for a life rich in imperfection. When we awaken, even if our bodies protest, we can still draw strength from the simple truth that we have rested through the night and that our hearts remain supple enough to savor a well-brewed cup of tea. We acknowledge that tomorrow we may not move as swiftly, but today we have the gift of presence. The world still offers avenues for wonder, the smell of rain on parched earth, the unfolding of a new poem, the moment a grandchild utters their first coherent words. We affirm that even if our hearing grows faint or our vision blurs, our capacity for gratitude and love widens to fill the growing empty spaces. Emotionally, we marshal each experience, triumphs and defeats alike, as a prism through which we gaze upon the world. We recall that once we raged like storm clouds when wronged by petty slights. Now we simply raise an eyebrow, inhale a breath, and choose silence or a measured response that deflects the arrow of insult before it pierces the skin. Our emotional intelligence, honed through decades, guides us to pick those moments that matter. One final syllable to impart to a grandchild, a final patch of earth to cultivate, a final verse to write, and to set aside the rest with a compassionate nod, acknowledging that those concerns, once so urgent, now pale in comparison to the light of our waning days. Positive energy in our later years emerges as a gentle beacon. We recall the nights we toiled in cubicles, hoping someone might notice our efforts, nights when we felt invisible, striving to build intangible achievements. Yet now, if someone lingers at our bedside in a hospital room, a child we guided years ago, now grown into an adult with wisdom to spare, we find ourselves encouraging them, even as we draw our final breaths. We become living testaments to the power of perseverance, of love that transcends flesh and fades only as the last heartbeat unfurls. Within our families, woven by threads of history that we help stitch together, we share stories that might otherwise vanish. Each yarn of memory holds the faces of ancestors we never met. A grandmother who made quilts by candlelight, a great uncle who fought in wars and returned to craft brilliant melodies on a battered violin. By speaking these stories with clarity and warmth, we ensure that those voices continue to resonate. We become bridges between the past and the future, a pilgrimage that grants value and dignity to the life we have led. In these twilight years, time itself becomes both precious and paradoxically abundant. We feel its scarcity more acutely. Each sunrise may indeed be among the last we witness, yet we also feel that it expands, enveloping us in ripples of consciousness. A single moment can stretch into an hour if we choose to dwell lovingly upon it. We see the golden thread that binds every human life, stretching from the earliest tribal days to the astronauts crossing the heavens. In our marrow, we sense that time, though relentless, is also forgiving, witnessing generations of folly, suffering, and triumph, yet birthing new beginnings with each rising sun. In approaching the end of our earthly journey, we carry forward the ancient wisdom: deep water runs still. We embody it in our final acts: a gentle word, a kind deed, a quiet reflection. We teach by example that life need not be a cacophony of demands, but can be a symphony of simple joys, shared gratitude, and ongoing curiosity. We show that in the stillness beneath the surfaces of our outward appearance lies a fathomless depth of compassion and understanding. The final echoes of our laughter, the whispered teachings we leave behind, and the love we transmute into memories become the lodestar for those who follow. In that expansive stillness, we leave a legacy of calm persistence, equanimity in adversity, adaptability in change, and courage in every breath. In the fullness of this narrative, spanning the radiant dawn of youth, the ripening midday of ambition, and the gentle dusk of reflection, we see that the human story is one of constant transformation. We recognize that life's most precious offerings are not material possessions or accolades, but moments of genuine connection, lessons learned from adversity, and the tender, enduring presence of love. When we synthesize these lessons, health as our keystone, genuine affection as our guiding star, the art of emotional mastery as our compass, and the stillness of the deep river as our anchor, we discover a tapestry both grand and intimate, woven from the simplest threads of daily living. And so let us emerge from this reflection renewed, alive to our preciousness, mindful of each heartbeat, and committed to using our finite time to weave compassion, wisdom, and joy. Let us laugh wholeheartedly when our bodies and hearts allow, resting peacefully when they do not. Let us carry forward the teachings of Jiān Píng Kě Dǎn in every corner of our lives, whether forging ahead in arduous tasks, meeting triumph and tragedy with balanced resolve, adapting to new landscapes with grace, or finding courage in the face of uncertainty. Let us cherish our families, yielding with empathy when conflicts arise, and embracing one another's frailties as part of our shared humanity. Let us lift our eyes to the vast horizons of possibility, using each moment to sow the seeds of love and kindness. Finally, let us honor our aging parents, our children who mirror our past, and every soul who crosses our path, knowing that the measure of our lives lies not in the years we count, but in the love we give, the compassion we sow, and the depth of our silent stillness that carries forward long after the world beneath our feet has shifted. Life may pass in the blink of an eye, but within those blinks we hold the cosmos. May we see clearly, choose wisely, love generously, and leave the world a kinder, gentler place than we found it. May each breath we draw be our final masterpiece of living art, a testament to our ability to transform fleeting moments into eternity.